How's it going? It's Logan here from Gap Games. Today I'm bringing you a game at our locals here between Tom and Harrison. Tom here, he's a Quinlan player. He's been playing that pretty much since the beginning of set 3. And we have Harrison here on the new Piett Blue. Two decks I think are going to be pretty popular in the meta. So we start out here with Harrison on a Onyx Squadron Brute. And then Tom follows it up with a Sabine Wren from set 1. And Quinlan usually is very action intensive, especially in the early turns like this. So Harrison's able to take the initiative. We'll see if he can do anything with it here. Looks like he has no play at all. Tom goes base with Sabine and follows it up with an Ezra. It looks like Harrison just took initiative and did nothing on turn 2. This is a matchup where I think if the yellow hero decks can get ahead, their disruption can just keep you far enough behind that they can push in enough damage and you just won't be able to come back from it. And here we see a perilous position on the Ezra just to try and stem the bleeding a little bit and also prevent some of that free value that he gives you on attack. And we'll see what Tom follows up with here. It might just be an attack with Sabine. Yeah. So we're at 6 on Harrison's base already. And Harrison really has no board state at this point, so it's not looking good. And we followed up with an Ahsoka from the new set. This is rough. The discard here is just going to put him even further behind. And now Tom has 3 units in play. His coordinate is set up even if something gets removed. He could theoretically Plo Koon and kill Piett on deploy with the Quinlan ping. So Harrison's in a rough spot here. We'll see what he does. A resupply carrier. Okay, that's not going to do enough. Right now he is really far behind on the ground arena specifically. So just going into space is not really going to get there. He's losing the damage race. He's losing the board state race. He might deploy Piett here just to help take some pressure off of his base at least. No, I guess he just claims. Tom has pushed in 10 damage this turn, and he hasn't even played anything yet, so he's got another follow-up play here, presumably. L3, okay. Yeah, I mean, he's just gumming up the ground right now, and that's another target that's even a little sticky. It's not going to die to a turbo laser salvo. It won't die to a overwhelming barrage. And here's a force throw. This could potentially be really backbreaking, but it looks like he discarded just a 2, so his resupply carrier still stays alive at least. If he has overwhelming barrage, he can take out, I guess, Ezra and Sabine maybe. That's the other issue with playing against Yellow Hero is that all of their units either have shields or have a lot of HP. And here's the overwhelming barrage. So when you're using damage-based removal like that, it's just so hard to actually get enough to remove anything significant. They just all have like 5 health or more, or have shields. So speaking of shields, yeah, it looks like he took out the L3 shield along with the Ezra, since it only had 2 health with the perilous position and the Sabine unit. And here we see a Piett deploy. It might be too little too late at this point. He already has 18 damage on his base, and yeah, here's a surprise strike for another 6. Going up to, would that be 24? Yeah. Takes out L3 at least. It's not nothing. Another surprise strike for the last 6. Okay. Yeah, so that's it for game 1. Rough one for Piett that time around. Admittedly, Tom didn't have that much in the way of disruption. I think it was just Ahsoka and a force throw. So it could have been worse in that regard. But here we go, on to game 2. And Harrison's starting off here. He's got initiative. Sometimes you want to give initiative to Quinlan, just so that way if you have a turn 1 play that's the same cost as theirs, they don't just immediately ping in Tarkintown like we saw in game 1. I'm not sure if Harrison wanted to do that this time around. His 2-drops usually aren't that impactful. But here we go. We see the same sequence as last time. The Onyx Squadron Brute. Tom hits it with an L3 and ping with Quinlan, and Tarkintown immediately just trying to gain that early board presence advantage. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I don't know if Tom would rather hold up the Tarkintown for a bigger impact unit, but Harrison's usually not getting to that point until a few turns into the game, so maybe just keeping him off of anything is better. And here we see a red 5. Okay. After the L3 got hit with a perilous position, which does get around the shield, so that's good for Harrison. That's nice. Red 5 is an interesting one. I hadn't even considered that. I'm not really a Quinlan player, but seeing Tom play it makes sense. You can damage your opponent's units with Quinlan, and then Red 5 gets the on-attack ability to do the extra 2. And here we see Corvus. This is an interesting one, too. The fact that that's a capital ship, you can play it on 4 here, which is really good, getting a 4/5 restore 2 on the 4 resource turn. Like, that can really help keep you in a game. And here we see Ahsoka again, too, the disruption. Discarding a top target. So not a huge deal from Harrison, I don't think. All right, so Harrison's got initiative. We're going into the 5 resource turn, so he can play one of his 6 cost capital ships, or if he deploys, he can put out a 7. The 6s and 7s are where it really starts to get good for Piett. Resupply carrier, or the restore 2 one, I don't remember what it's called, along with the fleet interdictor, I think is what it's called, the 7 cost 6/6 sentinel. That one's really strong. Here we go. We see a Quinlan deploy after Corvus takes out the red 5. What do we got? Resupply carrier, yeah. So this is another really powerful sequence here. If he deploys, next turn he could theoretically play an Avenger, because he'll be on 7 resources with Piett giving a 2 discount. And here's the Piett deploy. This is risky. If Tom had a Plo Koon, he could just immediately kill the Piett with basically no downside, but instead we see a force throw. And I believe he discarded another top target, so he's only going to be throwing around 1 damage. Decides to put it on the Corvus. Okay. And I see Akira in Tom's hand. That might be the follow-up here because he's got 4 resources. Yeah. We're going to see what Harrison's working with. Overwhelming Barrage. And that's it. He only has 1 card in his hand. Okay. So I can only imagine we're naming Overwhelming Barrage. And here we're getting into base for 3 with the Quinlan. Passing turn. Harrison's still on initiative. I mean, that's the other thing with Piett too, is that you almost always have initiative because you're just playing one big thing every turn most of the time. Sometimes you have turns where you're playing more than 1 card, but those are less often, I would say. But here we go. He's on 7. If he drew an Avenger, this could be really powerful. Deciding on a resource. Here we go. There it is. He actually drew the Avenger off the top. He only had Overwhelming Barrage in hand. And Tom gets rid of the Ahsoka. This is looking rough for Tom at this point. He basically just needs to keep waylaying. He drew the Plo Koon a turn too late. Yeah, if he had killed the Piett last turn, he could have avoided this Avenger. And here we see he uses the Quinlan ping to take out the Corvus instead of focusing on one-shotting the Piett. I mean, the damage is already done. The Avenger's down. Killing the Piett was a lower priority, I would say. And he's just stemming the bleeding right now by getting rid of the Corvus with the Quinlan ping. And right now, he's only got 7 damage on Harrison's base, and he's facing down 12 in the space arena every turn, along with the Avenger trigger. It's in a rough spot right now. I don't know what sequence Tom would have to come back from this. They're going to play it out, though. They're on camera, so. even if Tom did have a waylay at this point, I mean, he would just be delaying the inevitable. And here we see the overwhelming barrage. He's paying through the Kira attacks and just pretty much wiping Tom's board. Yeah, I don't see any way out of this. He's going to be coming in for 10. I guess if Harrison discards a unit, he can tap the Avenger. But again, I mean, yeah, it looks like that's what happened. So he's only getting in for 4 with the resupply carrier. He did prevent the 10 from the overwhelming barrage. But now, I mean, if he attacks with this Kira, Harrison just claims and he can attack first action. He gets in another 3 with Falcon, so Harrison's up to 16 now. But I think Tom actually is only on 10 damage on base. And he's facing 12, so he's not dead this turn. He's got 9 damage himself, but one of those units is going away with the Avenger attack. Checking his resources. I don't know. Like a hotshot blaster would be a little bit extra. That would give him 8 damage after losing a unit. Still 6 short at that point. Yeah. I mean, there's Cassian, but that costs 5 resources. That's only 3 extra damage. He's going to sacrifice the Falcon. Maybe? Yeah. He sacrifices the Falcon. And here's the blaster. Okay, 5 damage. We're at 21 on Harrison's base. Guess in theory, he could have Surprise Strike plus another Falcon would be 9 with the Ahsoka attack. And he's at 22 himself, so he's got 3 health left on his base. Does he have Surprise Strike Falcon? I think if he did, he would have played it by now, because regardless of what Harrison has up, you know, resource-wise and what's in hand, you just have to go for it. You don't have any other outs at this point. Are we going to see a scoop? Or is he might claim here. Yeah, claim, okay. He's playing Pershing and Assault Frigate. I mean, he's just, you know, making sure. But now, you know, Surprise Strike on Kira, he's actually 1 short. He needed 9 damage, and that's 8. Really rough for Tom. He actually was so close to winning that game. That one looked unwinnable. And he was only 1 off. And here we are on to game 3 now. And interesting to note, that kind of into the point I was making earlier, Tom actually gave Harrison the initiative this time around. And we're going to see the same sequence. I wonder if he's going to Tarkintown this time. We have a crafty smuggler. He's going to ping the brute for 1 with the Quinlan. And he's actually not going to Tarkintown this time. So he's taking a different line than he has in the past. Maybe he wants to save the Tarkintown for a more impactful unit if he can get it within 3 damage range here. So he has an Ezra in hand, a red 3. I couldn't see the rest there. But Ezra seems like a good turn 2 play here. Brute coming in for 2 on Tom's base. Smuggler coming in for 2 on Harrison's base. See if Harrison... This is the first game where he's going to have turn 2 ramp. But this time it's a super laser technician. And is Tom going to just go in space now? Or now he's going to Tarkintown. Okay. Unfortunate that he waited to do that until there was damage on Harrison's base. Because he just healed the 2 from it dying. But now he can ping the super laser technician with the Ezra play. I guess that's fine, because then you're not getting damage on your units. But now you're saving Harrison in action. Because now he doesn't have to attack the technician into one of your own units. But he gets to keep the shield on Smuggler or keep 2 health on Ezra, so That's probably worth it. But now we see here Harrison's on 5. We could see a Piett deploy. All right, we're just going to see a resupply carrier. But now this is even scarier in a way because now we could see the same thing as last game with the early Avenger on 7 resources, and that would be on the 4th turn in this case. Really, really strong. And here's Ezra swing, looking at the top card. Discarding it. Okay. I didn't see what it was. And here's an Ahsoka. These Ahsokas have been really strong. Just another Force unit with a lot of health. Disrupts in more ways than one. It can disrupt by tapping units if they discard a unit. Also just getting rid of a card in their hand. Like Quinlan is really good at emptying their opponent's hand or just not letting them play the game, basically. And Tom's just going to take the initiative. He doesn't want to get in the 2 damage. He'd rather have first action here. Ezra attack is pretty good here too, because I think most of his deck is 5 or less, so he could pretty much play anything off the top here. And there we see a free Poe Dameron off the top. That's really good. He's going to ping the Piett with Quinlan. Poe Dameron can push a lot of damage, and ooh, relentless. I don't know if that's worse than Avenger, but it's up there. A turn 4 relentless on the 7 resources that he's on is brutal. It gets in a lot of damage and stops a lot of Tom's game plan. He plays a lot of pumps like the surprise strikes and things like that, and force throws, waylays. I mean, he really has no way of removing this relentless. It's going to be on the field probably for the rest of this game. And now he's on 10 damage, so he's almost dead next turn. Okay. Piett's gone at least, so that's 2 less. Tom isn't dead next turn even if Piett is still on the field, because I think he's only on 10 on base. And that would mean 14. I guess he wants to maybe play around a overwhelming barrage, getting in the last 2 extra damage. But I wonder if he should have just pushed base instead. Because I think if he has overwhelming barrage, this game is over regardless. And instead of spending 6 damage on the Piett, he could just have spent the 6 damage on base. And realistically, if he's going up to 8 resources and has Piett available, he can still play pretty much any of his capital ships anyway. And there's Crafty Smuggler going away to the power of the dark side. Tom's not dead. He's got 8 with Poe Dameron, 3 with another Ezra hit, another 9. So he's got 17 damage on base right now with no pumps this turn, and he's not dead immediately. So I don't know. He might be able to get there, but that extra 6 might have been enough to be a decider if he had hit base with the other 2 units last turn. And here I think he's doing the discard with Poe Dameron along with 2 damage to base with Poe Dameron. I'm pretty sure the discard from Poe is not random. So Harrison could have picked what he got rid of, but maybe they thought it was random. Looks like Tom wants to attack with Ezra. One of the nice things about Ezra is that he can kind of cheat actions in a way. Like if you attack with him, you can play something in the same action off the top. And that might be what we see here. I think that was a red 3. That would give him a little bit extra damage. And red 3 with Poe puts him up to 9 on 1 attack. He's missing 11. Because realistically, he's going to have to kill Harrison in 1 attack next turn if he wants any chance of winning this game. If Harrison attacks and Tom doesn't claim, he's just dead immediately. And there's the red 3. So that 1 extra damage, I mean, that's anything can count in a race this tight. And Tom's at 22. Harrison's at 19. I think Tom just has to claim. I mean, if he doesn't, he's just dead. He's not going to be able to push 11 damage with Ahsoka and Quinlan and only 3 resources up, especially with Relentless in play. Tom really taking his time here to think about this. I think there's only one option. Yeah, it's claim. There's another assault frigate, and we're moving on. Now, like I was saying before, Poe is 9 damage right now. If you factor in with red 3, he gets raid 1. If he discards a card, that's 2 extra damage. So that's 7 on the attack, 2 from the discard. That means he's 2 short. He can't play any events, but I think Hotshot Blaster actually would win him the game this turn, because Hotshot Blaster is an upgrade that lets him automatically attack. It's not an event, so that gets around Avenger. And yeah, you see, he has the surprise strike. I meant to say Relentless, not Avenger, but if he has the Hotshot, I think that's exactly 30 damage. I wonder if he has one. I wonder if he realizes that. And there it is. There it is. That's 11 damage in one swing, one action. I think they're just realizing now, yeah, that's the game. Tom stole that one. He was dead to any attack from any of the other units on Harrison's side here, and he did exactly 11 damage. The last possible action that he could do it. That's it. Wow. Really great match. Those are some close ones, and they were really interesting. It was fun to see the differences between these two decks. They're playing completely different colors. They don't share any colors in common. And Piett is a brand new leader, brand new deck. So seeing the different builds and the different flavors of Piett has been really interesting. I think blue is definitely a strong one, and I know Harrison was talking about maybe going to Colossus for his base, and if he was on Colossus this game, then he would have won. But it's hard to say, because if you're on Colossus against a discard deck, you know, your hand could be emptied a lot faster. And like that one turn, he only had the Overwhelming Barrage as his last card, and that would have been gone if he had Colossus. So hard to say, but good games. Thank you, Tom and Harrison, for letting me record this one, and I appreciate everyone for watching. Catch you in the next one. Peace.